Growing up with elephants, Vajira Wijegunewardane's bond with these majestic giants shaped a lifelong passion that evolved into a remarkable photographic journey. His lens has captured some of Sri Lanka's most iconic tuskers, immortalizing their grandeur in his acclaimed book, A Celebration of Majesty. With fewer than 6,000 wild elephants remaining in Sri Lanka, he joins us on Kaleidoscope Dialogues to share his insights on conservation, coexistence, and the soul of the Sri Lankan elephant. Why are Sri Lankan elephants so important to Sri Lanka?
For centuries, elephants have shaped our culture, our spirituality, and our landscape. And Sri Lanka holds the highest number of Asian elephants on an island. So they're remarkable for their intelligence, memory, and deep emotional bonds. And ecologically, they are keystone species. Culturally, they are symbols of majesty and resilience, reflected in our ancient chronicles and traditions. And what makes them uniquely Sri Lankan is the fact that our relationship with elephants, and we are one of the few countries in the world that elephants and people have lived together for thousands of years.
So, from a numbers perspective, very briefly, how many are left in the wild, and what does that number actually mean for the future of elephants?
There's an estimation of around 6,000 elephants. But I believe in my experience, my practical observations, I believe the number is more than that. However, that number is fragile. And without securing habitats, connecting landscapes, and also science-based land planning, the population can collapse very fast. Just to give you a perspective in terms of numbers, research carried out by Dr. Prithviraj Fernando, I'm quoting from those, between 1990 and 2005, on average, 125 elephants died per year, and about 50 people. So that figure changes from 2006 to 16. The elephant numbers go up to 250 a year, and the elephant and the human death toll rises up to around 75. These are rough figures. But from 2017 to 2024, the number of elephant deaths goes up to around 375 per year. And the human death toll is around 125. And if you see last year, we've had the highest number of elephant deaths in this country, around 450 plus. So these are, mind you, only the recorded numbers. I mean, there is so many that goes unrecorded. So if you, let's say, add another 100, 150, that's 600. So that's 10% of the estimated population we have.
So there was this recent call for an elephant drive, which is inconceivable from an elephant's habitat perspective. Given that there is development going on, how would you suggest that elephants are rehabilitated?
Elephant drives simply don't work, and they are outdated. So they are stressful, cruel, and scientifically proven to fail. So elephants don't move just because humans want them to. They return to their home ranges, often more stressed, aggressive, traumatized, and unpredictable. And of course, elephants are creatures of memory, so forcing them out never works in the long term. So the question is not how do we move elephants, but it's how do we design development. Development must be planned around elephant landscapes, not imposed on them. And if Sri Lanka wants lasting solutions, we need to stop treating elephants as obstacles to development and start treating them as central stakeholders in the land planning. That means proper ecological zoning, protecting traditional movement corridors, and designing infrastructure around predictable elephant movement patterns with the necessary mitigatory measures built in. For instance, like early warning systems, buffer zones, underpasses, overpasses, whatever. Whether we like it or not, coexistence is the model, and coexistence is not idealistic. It has worked so well in other countries, and it is practical, proven, and far more cost effective than conflict.
Are there any examples we can take from other countries that where this has worked?
Let's say closer to home, India. I mean, they have implemented elephant corridors very successfully. They use community-based conservation and has early warning systems which alert the necessary people of elephant movements. And today, with technology, that can easily be done. If you take Thailand and Malaysia, before they plan development, they actually, I'm told, they use GPS tracking to ensure that development happens around the elephant populated areas rather than through them. The best model is, I think, several African countries where wildlife-friendly systems, rapid compensation schemes have dramatically reduced conflict. And also, one of the key things in Africa is that they have embraced community stewardship, where local people benefit from protecting wildlife rather than fighting it. So the common thread in all of this is that the countries which have successfully addressed this system where humans and elephants live together is that science, community involvement, and long-term consistency, and critically political will that doesn't change is, if you can get that formula right, these people and elephants can thrive together.
What do you think we need policy-wise and also then execution-wise from the Ministry of Environment and the Department of Wildlife Conservation?
One thing we lack is that there is no legal binding national elephant conservation policy that remains stable across governments. So the land use planning must be coordinated through across several ministries to ensure that there is no fragmentation. I mean, one good example is, for instance, the Min area gathering. I mean, that was a natural phenomenon where during the dry season, the water levels recede, the elephants come to graze. With the water levels being maintained at a certain level through a ministry that is responsible for water usage, that phenomenon didn't occur for a few years, which affected the elephants, the people who benefit from tourism. So that's where the coordination needs to happen. Where we lack is implementation. There is a policy that had been drafted on the human-elephant mitigation process, and I'm sure that was done in terms of a scientific study. So unfortunately, there are a lot of people doing a lot of things, but there is no coordinated effort to do what is right, and from time to time, based on who the policymakers are, things change. There has to be a common elephant conservation policy. The elephant is a national treasure, and how they are protected along with the people who live around them is a shared stakeholder interest, and what is important is to do what is right.
You have photographed iconic tuskers. If you take 3 of them, what makes them special?
If you look at the ones who are no longer there, I mean, one of the main tuskers that comes to mind is the Kumana cross tusker. So such a gentle giant, and so many people went to Kumana to observe him. And after the tsunami, I actually visited the Kumana Park. I was fortunate to see him. And not too long after that, within a few months, he became the victim of a bullet. Other iconic tusker is a tusker called Balagamba in Kalawava. To this day, probably the tallest tusker that I have photographed. And even he actually in 2011 went missing. My most memorable wildlife encounter has been with the Simbala, what was called the Simbala Angamu tusker, which I named as Parakrama. I am the only person who was fortunate enough to photograph him in the wild. And what happened to him was a national tragedy, because on the pretext of that animal having killed a man, they tried to relocate him. And bottom of the lorry gave way and he succumbed. You never expected that sort of animal to be in the wild, because the tusks were touching the ground. And when I first saw him, my hands were trembling when I was photographing him.
Tell me a little bit more about the tuskers that are living today.
One is tusker with the largest and thickest tusks in Sri Lanka currently, and he's called Mahasen. So initially I photographed him in 2002, and he was famously known as the Somawati tusker, because that is where he usually used to live, and during the dry season he frequented Kaudul National Park. Other tusker is called Kavantissa, and I first photographed him in 2013 in Siyamalangama, and now he's the largest tusker that we have, who's currently living. The unfortunate thing about our wildlife management, and how as a result of the corridors, the landscapes not being connected, if you really see what they have to endure on a daily basis, negotiating, railway tracks, elephant fences, walking through villages. I mean, it's unbelievable that they are still living. The other tusker that I would like to mention is called Gajabahu, who is in the Yarnoya basin. Very difficult to observe. Absolutely nice specimen. Because of his elusiveness, I mean, thankfully you don't see even gunshots on his body, which usually is a thing in a lot of our animals.
Stay connected with Kaleidoscope. Watch, follow, and keep up with us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. Silly Life.